What's up, guys? It's James from Lucrative MMA. I'm back to drop some more knowledge on you. And today we're going to be talking about the UFC 261 full card. I'm going to be recapping it as I always do. We'll go over every single fight, bottom to top, because we'll start from the first fight of the night, work our way up to the main card, co-main event, main event. I can't wait to talk about this card because it was such a banger of a card. Probably one of the best cards I've ever seen. I know recency bias is a real thing, but when I was watching the card, I just felt like it was a historic card. You know, even if pound for pound, fight for fight, it wasn't the greatest card we've ever seen, even though I think it's got an argument for that. It was definitely a historic moment in the sport. Reminded me of the UFC 217 card when all three title holders lost their belts. You know, it was that sort of historic moment. Rose Namajunas obviously made another historic moment. She was involved in that one, knocking out Joanna in the first round. Now she knocks out Weili Zhang in the first round. I won't go off any tangents because I feel I want to talk about that fight already. So we're going to start from the first card of the night, first fight of the night, and go up to the bottom. And obviously, as this is a betting show, at the end of the day, it's not just an MMA show. I will touch on all of my bets on the card, the ones that I had. And I will also touch on any bets that I thought were good or bad in the fights I didn't bet on. We had a good night, me and my members, because if you don't know, I hold a handicapping service. So people pay me for my analysis, for my betting advice, and for my picks. We had another good night. We won over 4 units, 4.4 units of profit. It could have been a lot bigger if some of the variants went our way, but I'll get into that as I touch on it. So now we make it 7 out of the last 8 weekends. We have profited, and the only weekend we did lose in that 8-weekend run, we lost 0.1 units. So we're on an absolute heater at the moment. We're up over 30 units this year. We was up over 60 units the year before, over 99 units the year prior. So, you know, we're tracking to do as good as we've ever done, if not better. So I'll get straight into the card. But if you did want to find out more about my service, just go to the links in my bio. And everything's on there. You know, you can check my results. You can check more about me, all of that good stuff. So I'll bring up my screen and we'll get into the first fight of the night. And if anyone's in the chat, hit up the chat, say what's up, and we'll talk about this card because it was an absolute banger. First person in the chat, K Baba, what's up, bro? Thanks for being in the chat. He said, first fight KO cash in. Thanks. Yes, you're welcome. And I cashed on that as well. And what K Baba is talking about is obviously you've been watching my YouTube channel, so I appreciate that, bro. And I'm happy to be able to help you profit, you know, in return for giving me some support, watching my show, and hopefully hitting the like button. So yeah, I've been talking about this for a good 6 to 8 weeks now. I've been saying that the UFC is seeming to put on some absolute bangers on the first fight of the night, right? The first fight of the card to open up the card. And it seems like they do that on purpose because they want the card to start off with a bang, right? And I feel like that it's gone on for long enough now where we can say that it's probably not just coincidence. It's probably not variance. I do believe the UFC are trying to match up the fighters on the first fight of the night to be a banger. And because I'm a sports bettor, the way I've been approaching that is because they're usually bangers, I've usually been taking the shot on the under 2.5 rounds, or the fight doesn't go to the decision, or just one fighter defeating the other fighter by stoppage. So last week I bet on Tony Gravely inside the distance. He was the first fight of the night against Anthony Burchek. He cashed in the second round. And this week I bet on the under 2.5 rounds in the Liang Na fight, and that only went into the second round, and then it quickly got stopped. So yeah, I think, I think a lot of people have been cashing on that because a lot of people have been saying thanks. I'm glad you've cashed on that. And yeah, just look out for that, guys. Anytime there's a fight that you research, if it's the first fight of the night, look for it to be a violent fight because a lot of time it has been. So just this fight here, fight was unbelievable, you know, and it was fitting that it opened up the card because the card turned out to be an amazing card and this fight was crazy. So any bets I had on this fight, I had Liang Na to win via submission. I did a quarter of a unit shot on that at plus 500. And then I also did the under 2.5 rounds. I had a big play on that. I had 4 unit play at minus 170. I know some people got on that plus money, which was pretty crazy. I'm annoyed I didn't see it a bit earlier, but minus 170 was still value in my opinion. I mean, that fight was never going to go to decision. Liang Na comes out like an absolute mad woman, like she always does. She dives for the legs. She goes for the submissions. Connolly was able to stay out of danger. She was locked up in a couple submissions. I think she had a rear naked almost once. She had an arm bar almost once, but Connolly was tough. Strong girl, enabled her to break out of any of the submission attempts from Liang. And, you know, Liang gasses out, as she does in every fight, and she was TKO'd shortly after. Bit of an early stoppage by the ref, but I think he was kind of going on the previous round where Connolly also almost stopped Liang towards the end of that round. So I think the referee was just like, look, if this girl takes any punishment again, I'm just going to stop the fight, because she was almost stopped in the first round. So it was more of a presumptive stoppage, if that's a word, than, you know, a technically correct stoppage. But I think it would have been stopped shortly after if the ref didn't stop it then, but I guess you would like to see it play out. So, you know, my under bet cashed with each, and that was my 4-unit play. I put a quarter of 1 unit on Liang via submission, just because it was plus 500. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Either Liang's going to submit her or Connolly is going to stop her. So first I'm going to bet the under, of course, because that covers me. But Liang submitting her should not be plus 500, because that's literally one of the only 2 outcomes that's going to happen in this fight. So that's why I bet on submission at plus 500. I still think it's good value. I was predicting Connolly to stop her, but Connolly inside the distance was something like plus 130. Instead, I got plus 500. So, you know, that was a numbers play there. My main bet cashed with ease. That was a sweat-free bet, to be honest. And I was happy with that. Trent, shout out to Trent. He's saying he was looking at the fight doesn't start round 3 at minus 116 for a while. And when I finally went to bet it, it changed. Okay, so you're saying the odds changed. But what did they change to? Because, you know, it wouldn't have gone minus 200, right? I would assume. Maybe, but I feel like there was probably still value, even if it was minus 200. I mean, that fight was never going to decision. So sometimes, and I'm not saying you got caught in this, I get caught in this a lot, and I know bettors do get caught in this. And this is something you need to be aware of if you're trying to make money on sports betting. What happens is you look at a bet, right? And the odds are, for, you know, in your example, the odds were minus 116, right? And then when you actually went to bet it, the odds changed. Let's say the odds went to minus 175. So for you as a bettor, you don't really want to bet that, because basically you've missed out on the minus 116 line, right? So you feel like, I shouldn't bet that because I've missed out on the line. But there might still be value on the line, even though you've missed most of the value or more value because you didn't get a minus 160 line. Even if you bet the minus 175 line, that still might hold value. And even though it feels a bit annoying to bet on it because you feel like you've missed out on a good number, there still might be value on it and you should still bet it. So it is annoying because you still have to pull the trigger on a bet that you could have got better odds on. But over the long term, you don't want to be missing out on these spots that you chalk off as non-value spots just because you missed out on the bulk of the value, because there still might be value on the line. So just make sure about that when you're betting. Patty's saying my night got ruined by the Grant Sekulich decision. Sekulich decision was plus 6.5 units and Grant decision was minus 3 units. Yeah, man, them swings are absolutely crazy. I feel you, bro. I've been in that situation multiple times. I was actually in that same situation with the Chris Weidman thing, which we will touch on. But yeah, unlucky, bro. It's just variance, you know. Shout out to Trent. He's saying it shot up to minus 180. And yeah, you're right. That's what I thought. Yeah, man. So I feel like minus 180, in my opinion, was definitely still value there. And I think it proved it as well. But, you know, one of them things. Next fight of the night was Jeffrey Molina versus help me out with this one, guys. Aori Kileng. Man, I don't know how to say that boy's name, but anyway, let's talk about the fight. It was a great fight, man. That was a banger of a fight. So Molina gets rocked in that first round. Then I believe he comes back and rocks Aori Kileng many times. I'm definitely not saying that name right. I'm just going to call him Aori. They rock each other multiple times in the fight, but it was just the volume and the accuracy and the calmness of Jeffrey Molina that won in that fight, right? So Aori seemed to have the power advantage, I would say, but Molina still was able to hurt Aori. And, you know, it was just, Molina was just like consistently chipping away. He had a great jab. He had a double jab, 1-2. Not huge shots, but enough shots to cause damage. And, over a 3-round fight, he was just wearing it at the end, and you could see Molina was kind of getting to him. It was kind of funny because in the third round, Aori actually hurt, or it was I believe it was in the third round. Aori hurt Molina badly towards the end of that round, but Molina had already done enough in that round to seal up the decision victory, and he definitely deserved it there. That was a great fight, man. I mean, we had the Lung Niao fight, which was absolutely bonkers, and then we had a 3-round war, between Molina and Aori. That was a really, really good fight. I'm excited to see both of these guys again. Molina kept calm under the face of pressure. Aori obviously is an absolute tank, just keeps walking forward. Both of them will be in exciting fights in the future. Aori's style is such an exciting style that I think even if he goes on a loss streak, the UFC shouldn't cut him. So that was a great fight there, and I really can't wait to see both of them back in action. I didn't have any bets on that fight, though. But this fight, the next fight, was a fight I did have a bet on. So Kazula Vargas was going against Rong Zhu here. Rong Zhu, 21 years old, making his UFC debut, and the guy's a minus 300 favorite. I just didn't understand it. So I do a betting podcast before every UFC card, and even if there's not a UFC card on, I'll probably do one for like a Bellator card or something. I don't know if any of you guys listen to podcasts, but if you do, subscribe to my podcast, the Lucrative MMA Betting Podcast. You can get it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere that you get podcasts from. Subscribe to the podcast because you'll get updates on when it comes out. And in that show, I do every single week, I go over the most exciting fight on the card, the most inaccurate betting line on the card, and the main event of the upcoming card, of course, right? And on the segment of this week where I went over the most inaccurate betting line on the card, I said Kazula Vargas at plus 200 was the most inaccurate line on the card. I lined it a 50-50 fight, and I didn't understand why Kazula Vargas would be plus 200 here. So what that means, because I'm a bettor, what I want to do is find value, all right? I want to find inefficiencies in the market. I don't bet on fighters because I think they're going to win. I don't bet on fighters because I think they've got a clear path to victory. That comes into it, but at the end of the day, behind everything, before everything, and first of all, I only bet on fights where I think there is value on the line, okay? You have to find value on the line long term, or you will lose money to the sports books and the bookmakers long term. So I found value on the plus 200 line, because behind every odds range is an implied win probability, right? I don't know if you knew that, but for example, Kazula Vargas was plus 200. That was his odds, right? So the implied win probability of a plus 200 line is 33%. Now, I said earlier that I thought this fight was a 50-50, right? Which means that I think that the implied win probability should be 50%, not 33%. So what that means is that there's a 17% difference between my 50% line and the bookmaker's 33% line, right? So that means I'm getting a 17% edge there, in my opinion. So for that reason, the market is inefficient, and for that reason, I should bet that line, okay? So I bet it, and it seemed like it was a 50-50 fight because it was a fairly close fight, but Kazula definitely done enough to win it, and he won the decision, and I cashed my plus 200 ticket. I also had another bet on this fight, quarter of a unit shot on plus 450, Kazula Vargas to win via decision, which also cashed. So I ended up coming away with about 3 units of profit. Just over 3 units of profit, 3.1 units of profit on this fight. And yeah, hopefully anyone who listened to my podcast cashed on that as well, because I did give it out as the best inaccurate betting line play of the night. And yeah, man, I mean, Rong Zhu, I should say, he just looked like he didn't really know what to do, right? He looked like he had a bit of stage fright. He did start coming on in that third round, but it was too little, too late by that point. Kazula Vargas had the UFC experience, was coming off 2 losses, but he had that experience. He just had that experience in life. He was 35 years old going against a 21-year-old fighter. Now, I don't actually believe Rong Zhu is 21, right? But that's another story for another day. He's not 31, right? He's probably at least 23, 24 or something. I'm not going to speculate on his exact age, but he's young, right? He's not as experienced as Vargas. Now, I think he might have even had more fights than Vargas, but they was on the Chinese regional scene, and I did go in depth about what the Chinese regional scene is. Basically, just the cliff notes is that even if a fighter has 20 fights on the Chinese regional scene, doesn't necessarily mean he's super experienced, right? And it's shown here. So anytime I'm getting a plus 200 line on a fight, which I think is virtually 50-50, could go either way, that is an automatic bet. And yeah, I cashed that bet and I'm happy to cash that bet. So we started the card well. Was up about 5 units in the first. 3 fights of the night. Trent saying that Rongzu was annoying. Definitely, if you bet Rongzu, he was definitely annoying. He wasn't annoying for me because I bet against him. So I was actually very happy that he seemed like he didn't know what to do. He was taunting a ton and he was barely doing anything. I know, man. I know. I mean, yeah, what can I say? He's a young guy making his UFC debut. I did a video before about betting on fighters on their UFC debut. And it's crazy the amount of fighters who lose their UFC debut, but actually go on to be very, very, very good fighters. Even some fighters who fight for the belt have lost their UFC debut. So, you know, it's a big thing. Anyway, the next fight, Dana Batgarel versus Kevin Natividad. I think I went to the toilet or I made myself a tea or I was cooking or something at this time. And, you know, I didn't see the fight because it ended in 50 seconds. I didn't have any bets on this fight. I was looking at Batgarel inside the distance. Seemed like a popular play. To be honest, being fully transparent, I thought Natividad would be able to make it fairly close. I did favor Batgarel for the win. Didn't want to play him at a minus 200 line. He goes out there and knocks him out in 50 seconds. So I guess people were right. Natividad coming off that knockout against Miles Jones wasn't a great look. Batgarel obviously does hit hard. But I guess over 50 seconds, it didn't tell us too much about that, you know, about Batgarel. But man, yeah, he cracked it this fight. And my read was off about this fight because I didn't think, you know, it's always live, the early knockout, right? But I just thought Natividad would be able to make it a bit closer, but not enough for me to bet him. Patty's saying Batgarel's overrated. Will be a stupid fave price against someone decent next time. 100% agree, bro. Yeah, I completely agree. And actually, I would look to fade him in the future. I kind of looked to fade him in this fight, but I just didn't because I'd done my research and I was like, yeah, I'm not betting on Natividad. He'll probably lose. I did think he could make it close. Completely wrong about that, but I think I'm right about possibly not overrating Batgarel, as I do think a lot of people do. And I do agree with you. And I do think we will get him as a stupid favorite price against someone decent. And I will look to bet against him. Pat Sabatini versus Tristan Connolly. Next fight. Yeah, not much to say about this fight. No bets on this fight. Is what it was. Pat Sabatini looked decent there the first 2 rounds. Don't know if he ran out of gas in that 3rd round or he just thought he coasted because he had 2 clear rounds in the bank. Tristan Connolly, obviously, you know, he did well in the 3rd round. He was cutting a lot of weight. I mean, he was coming down from welterweight, but you know, welterweight's not actually his weight class. But you know, he went through it. He had to eat 1 meal a day for like 6 months. Not much to say about this fight, guys. Pat Sabatini looks like a decent prospect. Yeah, but I'd like to see him in there with someone who at least can defend a takedown for the first 2 rounds. But Pat Sabatini, he looks like a decent prospect, man. I can't really say too much more about that. I mean, it was a good decision win. I know a lot of people talk high on him. Sean Brady says that he's one of the best fighters in the featherweight division. I think he trains with him. He's going to say that. But yeah, great win for Pat Sabatini. Next. Patty's saying that Batgarel uses the forehead jab block too much. Yeah, he does. Matthew S. What's up, bro? What's your name? My name's James, Matthew. Nice to meet you, bro. Patty's saying he bet Sabatini KO plus 1,000 and he looked good on the feet. Not Connolly down. Yep. Unlucky, bro. That's a big price. Connolly sucks. Sabatini might be pretty decent. Yeah, so it's a shame that you didn't cash that bet, but I guess the wrestling path was just so easy for him that he just went to that, right? The next fight was Karl Robson versus Brendan Allen. I did have a bet on this fight. I had Brendan Allen to win it inside the distance at plus 140. I just felt like Brendan Allen, yeah, he would get picked apart on the feet, but he could at least keep it slightly competitive on the feet. He wasn't doing absolutely despicable against Sean Strickland. And Sean Strickland, in my opinion, is a high-level striker. Karl Roberson's a very good striker as well, but I knew that Karl Roberson would probably initiate or engage in the grappling. And even if he didn't, it'd get taken down because I've seen it multiple times before, right? Karl Roberson always gets in grappling positions in unfavorable positions all the time, right? And a lot of people bet on Karl Roberson. This is probably like the dog of the week, right? Everyone bet on Karl Roberson here. And basically what they were saying was like, oh, I'm betting on Karl Roberson. If he fights smart and stays away from the grappling, he'll be fine. What do you mean if he fights smart? And I'm not going at anyone directly. This is just how I speak, very emotive. So please, if you're listening to this and you bet Karl Roberson, don't get upset with me. But what I'm saying is everyone was saying, oh, the reason I'm betting on Karl Roberson is, if he plays smart, he'll be able to get the win. But as I said, what do you mean if he plays smart? That's not his game. You're just assuming that now he's going to come out and for once not get involved in the grappling. I mean, then why were you even really watching tape if you don't see that almost every fight he gets involved in the grappling, right? Like, I know I probably fall for it at times as well. Like, if he doesn't do this, then he'll do that. But if he always does it, then why are you betting that he's not going to do it this one random time? You know what I mean? And then after you could say like, oh, he would have won that fight if he didn't do that. Yeah, but he does it every single fight. It's kind of like betting on like a Conor McGregor fight, right? And saying, oh, if Conor doesn't gas, he'll win, or something along them lines. But Conor gasses all the time, right? So it's a bit of a weird angle, in my opinion. But I basically saw what I said there is that Karl Roberson engages in grappling all the time. Okay. He gets taken down quite often as well. And he's not that great on bottom. And I did think Brendan Allen could be an insta-tap if he got on top, which means that if he got on top of Karl Roberson, he could instantly tap him. And that's what we saw. Karl Roberson did decent. He defended a little bit. But at the end of the day, as soon as it hit the ground, Allen tapped him, and it's not surprising at all. That's why I bet on it. So, yeah, it was a good win for Brendan Allen. His striking looked improved, but it's hard to tell how improved his striking would have been over 15 minutes, right? Because anyone can look good in the first minute or two, right? Because people were saying, oh, Dern's striking looks so good against Ansaroff. Guys, give it a rest, man. Dern's not a good striker. Look, she's getting better, right? But people were saying like Dern would have Dern was winning the striking exchanges against Ansaroff and she'd have won on the feet. Guys, please, don't take too much away from 1 or 2 minutes of a fight. Listen, if you want to take something away from a fight, you need to see them go at least 25 minutes and you need to see it multiple times, if you can really take something away. So for people to come out and say that about Dern, the same thing here. People coming out and saying, oh, Allen, maybe he could have held it on the feet of Roberson. No, guys, trust me. If it went 15 minutes, Roberson would have pieced that fall apart. Joe Selecki came out and looked solid against Austin Hubbard, right? Like he was winning the striking exchanges. He doesn't mean he would have won them over 15 minutes, right? Anyway, Brendan Allen, yeah, he takes Roberson down. His grappling did look better, I will say. When I say grappling, I mean wrestling. So Brendan Allen was able to take Roberson down multiple times, like twice, I think, with them trips, and he looked strong in the clinch. He doesn't usually go to his wrestling a lot. So I was, I feel like definitely Brendan Allen looked like he had a better game plan here. And I was happy with that because I ended up cashing that bet inside the distance. And we'll go on to the next fight. Yeah. Matthew saying, I commented on your video right after the Vargas read. Good shout there. I'm mad I didn't pull the trigger on a Valentina, Rose, Usman, parlay. Yes. Thank you, bro. I'm glad you cashed on the Vargas read. It's always good to cash plus 200 tickets. Patty's saying, Karl Robson might be the stupidest person on the roster. He's saying that, how do you survive on bottom for 4 minutes, then go for a leg lock on a grappler and give up the ankle lock with 10 seconds left in the ground? Bro, it's just like, he's just not on that level on the ground, Like, you can say what you want about going for ankle lock and that, but at the end of the day, Brendan Allen's just way higher level than Roberson on the mat. So I feel like if he didn't get that submission, then he would have got the submission. Look at this here. He went for one submission only. He only went for one submission here, right? I don't know if you can see. You know, his first submission, he got it. So I feel like, to be honest, I do think Robson done kind of well on the ground. Like, he basically done some stuff I haven't seen him do before. You know, he was collecting the leg in half guard. He was staying fairly safe. But Brendan Allen is so much better than Robson on the floor. If it gets there, he's always live for a tap, you know. And Robson did well. He got up to his feet once, but he got taken down again. And that's the thing. I thought Brendan Allen could keep it fairly close. Not fairly close, but I thought Brendan Allen could stay alive on the feet for a period of time, for a decent period of time. But I thought if Robson got on the ground, he wasn't going to stay alive. You know, the gap in striking was not the same as the grappling, right? So Brendan Allen had a better advantage in the grappling than Robson had on the feet. So there we go. Shawnee Mac saying, what's up, bro? Thanks for being here. Patty's saying it was Robson's mistake that gifted Allen the sub, not necessarily Brendan Allen. Yeah, but Robson has been sub multiple times. You know, he does this all the time. So it's not like it's not like, I don't know what to say. Yeah, it was his mistake, but I mean, yeah, that's what I bet on. I bet on his mistakes, you know. So yeah. Oh, Allen definitely a better grappler. Yeah, of course. Yeah, his wrestling look improved. I know what you're saying, but like, I don't know why, like, because you sound surprised, right? You're like, oh, Karl Robson might be this person. How do you survive over 4 minutes? Like, he does it all the time, you know. Like, he always gets into these grappling bad situations. You know, if you watch tape, you'll see him do it all the time. So it's like super unsurprising. Yeah. The next fight, Dwight Grant versus Stefan Sekulich. Now, this is crazy because I was so close to pulling the trigger on Sekulich. He was like over a plus 200 underdog. I was like, yo, like, why is this guy such a big underdog? I didn't pull the trigger, and boy, am I happy, you know, because he lost the decision, and it seemed clear that he should have won this fight, right? Like, it kind of seemed like he won this fight. I mean, he won this fight, right? Everyone was calling it a robbery. It's basically a robbery. He hurt him badly in that last round. He kind of edged out the first 2 rounds. I will say, looking at the total strikes, he actually threw less and landed less significant strikes and total strikes. He threw way less. He only threw 60 strikes, whereas Dwight Grant threw 160 strikes. But, you know, he got 3 takedowns out of 7. He should have won this fight, guys. It was a very bad beat for anyone who was in Sekulich. And I believe you, Patty, said you was on Sekulich by decision as well. So, man, that's just one of them variance sports. You know, it is what it is. Variance in sports. This robbery cost you so much. I'm sorry, bro. We've all been on the bad side of decisions, and hopefully the variance will swing in your way. And at the end of the day, if you're in it long term, it will. You know, you'll get gifted decisions which you shouldn't have won, and you'll get decisions gone against you which you should have won, like this one. So it's all right. Stick to the process, and you will get that luck back again, and it all evens itself out over time. Dwight Grant is a huge fade. I'm so annoyed he didn't go out there and dominate, because now I won't get to fade him at a big price tag again unless he fights a complete can. But again, I am glad that I avoided this Sekulich play, but it's good because I avoided it because I thought that Dwight Grant could make it close enough that I didn't want to bet it. And then I thought Dwight Grant could dead Sekulich, so I was kind of scared. But then also my read was spot on because I knew that this line shouldn't have been where it was. So I was happy to avoid that there. Very lucky that I didn't bet on it. I would have been fuming if I bet on that one. Shawnee is saying he hit his only bet on the night, 1 unit on Usman. Under 3.5? Under 3.5 rounds? No, that wouldn't be plus 325, would it? Actually, it might have been. What do you mean Usman under 3.5? Are you saying under 3.5 rounds in the Usman fight? You're not saying points handicap, are you? Plus 325. That's a huge price, man. Was the under 3.5 round that big? Yeah. Anyway, well done. Whatever you cashed on, whatever bet you had, good bet, bro. Plus 325 and it cashed. I mean, definitely good bet. Okay, Alex Olivieri versus Randy Brown. That was this was a nuts fight, right? Randy Brown comes out, drops Alex Olivieri with a huge shot, and he chokes him out with a one-handed rear naked choke. That was mad. I wasn't expecting to see a one-handed rear naked choke, and everyone's shitting on Alex Oliveira for tapping to that. You haven't fought, guys. You know, you haven't been in the octagon, right? Because if you had, you wouldn't be shitting on guys for tapping to a one-handed rear naked choke. I know a lot of people haven't fought before, and so they're kind of shocked to see that. But at the end of the day, look, it's not common, but it can get done. You know, like if the grip's choking you, you're gonna tap. It is what it is. You know. Now, I don't even know if he knew it was one-handed. You know, like maybe, but he obviously didn't feel it was one-handed. I mean, he obviously felt it was a tough choke, and they do get hit. You know, the one-handed rear naked choke do happen. They're not super common, but they do happen. If someone's got the anatomy for it, you know, the arms, if someone's got the squeeze for it, and if someone's got the technique for it, you know, it can hit, and it did there. So don't be shitting on Alex Oliveira for tapping to that, because it's combat sports, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fight, you know, and he was getting choked out, and it can be done. It can be done. So anyway, Randy Brown goes out there, and I mean, he should get a step up now. I reckon Randy Brown will get a decent fight. Obviously, he did get a step up in his last fight against Vicente Luque, and he got completely destroyed in that fight. But we'll see who he gets next. I'm pretty sure he'll get a step up now, and it will be interesting to see who he fights next. Shout out to Randy Brown and Alex Oliveira. They put on a very good show there. Yeah. Oh, okay. So your bet was under 3.5 rounds for Usman to finish. Okay, interesting. That's an amazing bet. Did you ever hear why Randy Brown was so mad after the fight? He kept saying, "Come to my Twitch to find out why." Yeah, no, I went to the toilet after so I didn't hear his post-fight press conference, but I did hear some of it. I don't know what he was saying about Twitch. No, I don't know. Right, his next fight was the next fight. All right, now we're on the main card, right? And this is where everything went nutty. Everything was already nuts, but this just got way more nuts, right? We had Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute comes out there and forgets that he can wrestle Anthony Smith, because it seemed like he could wrestle Anthony Smith. He waits to break his leg to wrestle Anthony Smith. It's quite funny because I saw a tweet saying Jimmy Crute literally waited until he broke his leg in order to start wrestling. Anyway, if you was on Jimmy Crute, I guess you're annoyed that he didn't come out wrestling initially, because it did look like he had the wrestling advantage. Probably quite a hefty advantage as well from what we saw, even though it didn't play out for too long. But yeah, Anthony Smith comes out. He was out there. He was jabbing the face off Jimmy Crute. And, you know, I'm kind of annoyed I didn't play Anthony Smith, right? Just because Jimmy Crute was getting a step up in competition. Anthony Smith has obviously, like, played. I mean, he's fought the best of the best. John Jones, Rakic, Glover Teixeira, you know. He's gone through some wars. 5-round war with John Jones. 5-round beatdown with Glover. 3 rounds of just grinding out with Rakic. I mean, he's been through it, right? He's fought a lot of fighters. And sometimes when the fighters are taking a big step up like that, you should kind of fade them. I'm just saying this is one of the fights that I probably should have targeted to fade, and they are kind of the spots I like to bet a lot. So it's annoying I didn't bet on it. But, I mean, it was a freak injury, but Anthony Smith did cause the injury. So you can't take too much away from him. But it's definitely a weird situation, because Crute seemed to look very good in the wrestling when it got there, but he just didn't go out there with a game plan. Anyway, Anthony Smith kicks Crute just below his knee, and I guess it's that perennial nerve or something, because Crute gets drop foot, which means his foot just goes dead. He basically can't feel it. He can't use it. And yeah, he basically couldn't walk, you know, and then he falls to the ground, or he gets the takedowns on Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith gets up to his feet. The round ends. He walks back to his corner. He attempts to walk back to his corner. Crute does. He can't walk back there. His ankle's going all over the place. He ends up sitting down on the stool, gets up off the stool, still can't stand properly, walks to the middle of the octagon to fight. The ref calls it off. Good decision by the referee. The fight was only going one way. One more kick, Crute would have fell down. The ref would have stopped it anyway. There's nothing wrong with that stoppage. Crute was done. The referee gave him the whole minute in between the round to, you know, for his foot to get better. It seemed like it wasn't getting better. he only saved him some further punishment. Shout out to Jimmy Crute. I wouldn't be too mad with a rematch. I know people are going to be against that, but at the end of the day, it was an absolute freak injury. Like, I don't feel like that's a bad rematch, man. I mean, it was, Anthony Smith was jabbing his face off, but other than that, nothing special. I mean, nothing really was happening. Anthony Smith done good jabs in the first round. When Crute went to the wrestling only after his foot hurt, he took Anthony Smith down 3 times. He only attempted 3 takedowns. He got all 3 of his takedowns, 100% takedown accuracy. So I think that rematch would be very interesting, especially knowing what they know about each other now, which is Anthony Smith can easily get the jab off and Crute can easily go to his wrestling. I'd be very, very interested to see a rematch there. It was an absolutely freak injury. It's like when Sean O'Malley fought Chita Vera. I mean, how can you not say a rematch would be fair? It's the craziest thing ever. Now, if you want to come at it like, no, Anthony Smith caused that injury, Chita Vera caused that injury, Brent Primus, when he fought Michael Chandler, caused that injury, then fair enough, that we can have a conversation there, right? Whether I agree or not, and obviously I do agree that he caused the injury, but whether I agree that that doesn't warrant a rematch, then that's fair enough, we can argue. But for people just saying that, like, there's no rematch just because, Anthony Smith clearly won, then, I mean, that's not a conversation that I'd want to have. Anyway, bit of a tangent, but I wouldn't mind to see them back in there. But shout out to Anthony Smith. He caused that injury and it was a great win for him. Patty's saying Smith seemed an obvious level spot. Yeah, it was, man. Seemed like it was. But, at the end of the day, as I said, he got taken down multiple times. So if Crute went to that, which he didn't, then it might not have been, it might not have seemed like that. But anyway, it's only one iteration of a fight, It's just hard to know what to take, especially when it ends like that. I'm always trying to be conservative. I don't take too much from one iteration of a fight. Anyway, Patty's saying he got Smith plus 225 on the exchange. Now, when you're talking about prices like that, that's when it's an obvious bet spot. Like, no matter what you think, I mean, he shouldn't be that much of an underdog. You're crazy. And I would have bet it if it was at that price. I didn't have it. I have a handicapping service, so I can't tip prices that are only on one book. I know some people do have a handicapping service, but I mean, that's so unethical. I can't even, imagine to say how unethical that is. But I only bet prices that you can get, in multiple bookmakers, worldwide. But personal play, I probably should have jumped on that in the exchange. I probably was just sleeping at the exchange there. Anyway, Chris Weidman versus Uriah Hall. I don't want to talk too much about this fight. I feel so sorry for Chris. His career might be over here. He's 36 years old. He's gone through some wars, and now this happens. I did bet on this fight. I bet 2.5 units on Chris Weidman. Obviously, don't regret the bet at all. One of the most random outcomes in MMA history, and that's not a exaggeration. It hasn't happened a lot. Apparently, it's only ever happened 3 times in the UFC. Once to Anderson, once to Weidman, and I don't know who the other guy is. If the chat knows, hit me up. But I saw my man, shout out to Liam. Liam Picks Fights. He was saying, that he's realized that he should have avoided this fight because he had 1.5 units on Chris Weidman. He was like, I shouldn't be betting this fight. This was a clear fight to pass, because I think someone else who bets on MMA was saying that it was a clear pass fight. Listen, it kind of made me laugh, because I'm like, so Chris Weidman has number 1, number 2 most random injury in the history of the UFC, the 20-year UFC, and you're saying that it was a clear pass fight because of that outcome. Come on, guys. You know what I just said, which was we can't take too much of one iteration of a fight. If Uriah Hall went out there and flying kneed Chris Weidman in the first round, it wouldn't be an obvious pass fight. He broke his leg on a leg kick. It's not an obvious pass fight. It's not an obvious anything fight. Nothing's obvious about what would have happened because we didn't see anything happen, right? So obviously it feels annoying when you've got a 1.5 unit ticket, or like me, I got 2.5 units on Chris Weidman. Yeah, obviously it feels annoying when you lose, but sometimes just don't read too much into it, Don't read too much into that. Like, oh yeah, Chris, his durability was not what it was. his leg was always, had a chance of going. Like, I shouldn't bet on that. Yeah, just don't read into too much of it. I'm talking to Liam, which I already commented on your post, Liam, if you're watching this, and I'm also talking to everybody else who takes a big, or who creates a big opinion on one iteration of a fight, right? Don't do it, because most of the time we don't know. Like the Rose Namajunas Weili Zhang fight, that's the same thing. It only went a couple minutes. I'm not going to take too much away from that. I'm not going to go crazy and like, yeah, Rose clearly won. She's definitely going to win the rematch. No way about it. Zhang can't handle that power, that head kick. Like, don't take too much away from one iteration of a fight, especially not if the iteration of fight was a fucking randomest injury in UFC history, a mad leg break. Anyway, look, I really hope Chris Weidman comes back from this injury, but by the time he comes back, it's going to be what, 1 year and a half. He's going to be 38 years old, 37 years old, coming back from a leg break. His leg might never be the same. I feel like Anderson was never the same. I don't know, man. It's such a sad situation. Patty saying Uriah Hall was the clear side, TKO 1 all day, bro. Should have banked that. The third leg break is Corey Hill. Oh, okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. God, man, so sad for Weidman. Weidman's legacy is cemented forever. Doesn't matter what happens. It's been cemented for a very long time. Shout out to Weidman. The next fight of the night, Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andraj. My biggest bet of the night. 8 units on -400 line of Valentina Shevchenko. This fight was a massacre. It was the cleanest performance of the night. Maybe you could say Batgarel was the cleanest performance, but this was definitely either the second or the first, because we got to see it play out longer than the Batgarel fight, and it was still as clean. Valentina, I don't think she got touched once. I mean, goddamn, she looked like a beast out there. This fight reminded me of the Khabib Gaethje fight, and I bet on Gaethje in that fight, right? And I learned my lesson there. And the reason I bet on Gaethje was not because of his wrestling background, like a lot of people talk about that, right? The reason I bet on Gaethje was because of his footwork, and because I thought he'd be able to land on Khabib's chin. And if he did land, I just rated Gaethje as having very good knockout power, right? I was right in the fact that he did land on Khabib's chin, but Khabib looked at him like he was a little girl. He looked at him like Jessica Andrade hit Khabib, right? Which I wasn't expecting. And that is because I'm betting against an elite fighter in Khabib. I knew Khabib had a decent chin. I didn't know Khabib had that level of chin that we saw in the Gaethje fight. That still is haunting. That if you watch that Khabib Gaethje, if you watch that again, watch the shots Khabib takes on his chin. It is absolutely crazy. Like it doesn't do anything to him. I'm so shocked. I'm still shocked they was able to take them. Anyway, that was a bad bet, obviously, by me on Gaethje, right? And this fight reminded me of Khabib Gaethje in the fact that, yeah, Gaethje's so good. He's amazing, Jessica Andrade, she's so good. She's amazing. But Jessica Andrade is fighting Khabib right now. Do you know what I mean? She's fighting Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina Shevchenko is one of the best of all time. -400, I didn't think the line was wide enough. That's an 80% win probability. You're telling me that she wins only 80 out of 100 times. She loses 20 fights to Jessica Andrade in 100 fights. I don't think she loses 20 fights. I think she might lose about 10 or something. I feel like Valentina Shevchenko should have been 85 to 90% here. And that's why I said on my betting breakdown. And that's why I bet it, right? 8 units to win 2 units. I would bet it all day again. Anyway, she goes out there and completely dominates Jessica Andrade top to bottom. She's outstriking her. She's landing strikes at range. Then she just clinches her, bro, takes her down. 7 takedowns off of 7 takedown attempts, right? This was absolutely amazing. After I watched tape on this fight, I could see that she was clearly levels above and she could basically do what she wanted in this fight, right? I did have suspicions before that she might be able to go to a grappling. I did have suspicions before that she'd be able to evade Jessica Andrade's bullish-like nature and pick her apart on the feet. And then when I watched tape, I confirmed that. I confirmed that she'd be able to take her to the ground, dominate her. And actually, I also had a quarter of a unit shot on Valentina Shevchenko by submission at plus 500. Now, I'm very happy with that bet. That's a definition of a good bet that doesn't land, and they do exist. And all bets that land are not good bets. For example, if you bet Dwight Grant, that wasn't a good bet, guys, but it still landed. So, sometimes good bets win. Sometimes good bets lose. I feel like Valentina Shevchenko via submission was a decent bet. I'm not going to say it was an amazing bet. It was a good bet at plus 500. Reason being is because there were so many chances for it to cash, right? That's why I feel like it was a very good bet. So she took her down 7 times, and I thought she would definitely be able to go to a grappling. For that reason, I don't know what the line is, plus 500. She just couldn't get a submission on Jessica Andraj because she wanted to stay in position over submission. And, she ended up getting a crucifix finish, which is, a lot of people tap from crucifix. So I was thinking like, this even could be a tap from strikes. But yeah, I mean, she's got that finish before that crucifix. She's so strong in that position. And to be, to dominate someone like Jessica Andrade in the grappling and in a crucifix position is saying something, because Jessica Andrade is a bull, right? She's so strong, but she just had nothing for Valentina. She even attempted to pick her up once. That slam she did on Rose Namajunas to knock her out in their first fight. She attempted to do that, which is one of her best throws. It's one of her best takedowns. It's one of her best pickups. She's very strong in that position. She tried it. She couldn't do anything to Valentina. So Valentina, next level there, man. Next level. And I'll just catch up with the chat before we talk about the Rose fight. Patty's saying, if you bet Dwight Grant, pay me my fucking cash. If you bet Dwight Grant, just stay quiet about it and just reevaluate your betting process. I don't want to be rude, but yeah. Chev was the definition of a lock. Yes, she definitely seemed like that. And going up against someone like going up against someone like Jessica Andrade, it's crazy to look that good, right? I will say disclaimer though, that obviously we know there's no such thing as locks in sports betting, MMA, blah, 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 like anything could have happened. Anyway, Zhang, I just have to say that, because I'm an education platform at the end of the day. So there's no such things as locks in sports betting. But yeah, Chev was as close as he was going to get, in my opinion. And I think we saw that play out. I think it's fair enough to say that in the 7-8 minutes we saw of that fight. As I say, we can't take too much iteration off one fight, depending on what happens in the fight, right? We saw Usman versus Masvidal go 25 minutes in that first fight. That's why I felt like we could take a lot of iterations from that fight. A fight like Anthony Smith, Jimmy Crute, we can't take much from that. Fight like Weili Zhang, Rose Namajunas, we can't take too much from that, right? Fight like Valentina Shevchenko and Andraj, we can take a lot from that. We can take a lot. We saw a lot, We saw 7 takedowns out of 7 attempts, guys. We saw Jessica not be able to take Shevchenko down. We can take a lot from that fight. Anyway, Zhang Weili versus Rose Namajunas. Everyone and their mother on Zhang here. I had 0.1 unit plays on round 4 and round 5 via Zhang. Don't regret them bets. 0.1 units, 0.1% of my bankroll. It's absolutely nothing. I felt like Zhang, she could wear Rose down and get her out there late. I don't like necessarily completely disagree with that. Now, I favor Rose now in the rematch. And I did say in my breakdown, you can go and listen to this. This was the most exciting fight of the night on the card for me. And in my Lucrative MMA Betting podcast, you can go and listen. I said that I think Rose has better skills, better technique on the feet, but I feel like the power and the durability, which is funny, right? Durability of Zhang will be able to catch up to Rose, and she'll be able to get a late stoppage. But I wouldn't be surprised if Rose pulled out of the bag because, as I said, I think her skills are better. And it kind of showed, right? She sort of got Zhang's timing. She got Zhang's movement earlier. Her technique seemed a little bit crisper, footwork a bit better. Her high kick landed, absolutely beautiful high kick. And that was a great win for Rose. I'm happy to see her do it again. The emotions were nuts. That was a flawless performance, right? Because it went on for 1 minute and she got a head kick knockout. Zhang Weili was obviously annoyed about the stoppage. completely disagree there, as does almost everyone who saw that stoppage. Zhang Weili was clearly out. Now, whether she was unconscious or not, which she possibly was, she was gone. You know, she was out of the fight. Clearly out of the fight. Rose Namajunas, she creates another moment. She did it at UFC 217, and she does it here. You know, she knocks out the scariest woman in the division in the first rounds. Joe Rogan said it, right? She knocks out Zhang Weili in the first round, and she knocks out Joanna in the first round. God damn, man. I mean, she is an absolute beast. So they're going to make the rematch, which is hilarious, right? Well, not hilarious. I guess it was a flash KO, so I can see why they make the rematch. But the reason I said hilarious, because I know why they're making the rematch. It's not because it was a flash KO, right? Because they didn't give Ben Askren and Masvidal a rematch, did they? Do you know what I mean? So the reason why they give Zhang Weili the rematch is because she's from China. She's got a whole country behind her, one of the biggest countries in the world. She's one of the biggest MMA stars in the world, especially women's MMA stars. So that's why they're giving her the goddamn rematch. That's why they gave Conor McGregor the rematch against Diaz. That's why they gave Cody Garbrandt the rematch against TJ Dillashaw. You know, that's why it's hilarious, right? I can actually see a basis for a rematch because, as I said, it was like a flash KO within 1 minute. It was like pretty random outcome, in my opinion. I don't think Rose KOs her in the first round too many times they fight. So I can see an argument for a rematch, but it's funny because the UFC, that's not the reason they're doing the rematch. Anyway, I'm happy to see a rematch because I'm happy to see this fight go long. It might be like one of them ones where they go the distance and Rose wins a decision, because I definitely can see Rose winning the decision here as well. You know, she knocked out Joanna in the first fight. Then in the rematch, they went to decision. She might do the same here, right? She might knock out Weili in the first fight, and they might go to decision in the rematch. So that might be a sneaky play, like goes the distance in the rematch. But anyway, who knows, man? Who knows? That was a great fight. I mean, shout out to Rose, man. Patty here saying 2 units on Rose. Solid, bro. Like, very good bet. I mean, one of the best bets of the night there. Shout out to you. He's saying if they rematch, I'm going to bet Weili depending on the odds. Yeah, for sure, man. Good stoppage. Yeah, I do think it's a close fight. I definitely think it's a close fight. Yeah, so Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Now, I bet Kamaru Usman, and I bet him money line. I had a 6-unit play on a parlay that goes across multiple weekends. Usman was the first fighter in that parlay, so glad to cash on his money line there. As I say, I got him at minus 400. That's 80% win probability. I believed he was the same as Valentina Shevchenko. I think he should be 85-90% here, and that's exactly what I said in my Lucrative MMA Betting podcast. Again, anything I say here, it's not hindsight. You can go to my earlier videos that I'm referencing and see exactly what I said. Everything's on YouTube, so I can't hide. But yeah, I said that he should be 85-90% here. That's why I bet him in a parlay, and we cashed on that. The parlay goes across two weekends, so hopefully we cashed that. But I also bet on his decision line, minus 125. Man, I didn't see a standing TKO. Now, I did think that Usman was probably live for like a late war of attrition type stoppage. So maybe it'd be grinding Masvidal up enough. He'd be jabbing his face off enough that in the later rounds, he could get like a ground and pound finish, or Masvidal's just too tired and Usman stops him. I did not see a one-punch knockout on the feet, a standing KO. You know, I don't think anyone saw that. That was absolutely crazy. He stole the show with that one. We saw some absolute crazy fights, right? Valentina, but the Rose and Usman stole the fight. Trevor Whitman's fighters stole the fight with the craziness that happens. Jorge Masvidal, one of the most durable guys in the history of the sport, you know. I mean, look at his record. Look at the fighters he's fought. He doesn't get stopped, you know. But Usman blitzed him. Wow. Absolutely beautiful by Usman. That 1-2, that power is crazy. You know, Francis Ngannou must have gave him some of that good juju in his corner, because that was an absolutely amazing missile of a right hand straight through the chin. And Jorge Masvidal was unconscious before he hit the ground. And Usman hit him with some hard shots on the ground. So hopefully he's all right. He looks all right. He seems to be in good spirits after. He was very classy in defeat, especially with all the build up there. But it must feel tough, man, because Masvidal's whole thing going in was that, I fought Usman once. Usman can't hurt me. You know, that's what he was saying. His basically, Masvidal's whole shtick was I was on 6-day notice and Usman can't hurt me. Usman, he said literally, Usman's the weakest hitter I've ever been in there with. He can't hurt me. He said it must be a horrible existence to live a life where God doesn't bless you with fists that you can hurt another man. And then he does that to Masvidal of all people. The fight game is a crazy game. Anyone who bet Usman inside the distance, great bet. Well done to you, especially at slight plus money. So that's definitely good. But yeah, man, happy to cash on Usman money line, my 6-unit bet. Annoying to lose the 1.25 unit bet on Usman via decision, but it is what it is. I thought it would be decision. And I feel like these fighters fight again. Probably does go to decision quite a bit. It went to decision the first time, but I guess Usman's got that power, you know. But yeah, very shocked to see him get a standing TKO, but not shocked to see him get a TKO. When he fights Colby next, which seems to be like the fight they're going to do next, I'm very interested to bet Usman. Probably lay a decent amount of money on him. I feel like he's going to be like minus 300 in that spot. I think he closed like minus 200 against Colby in the first fight. I know the fight was close, but just seeing what Usman did to Masvidal here, he's probably going to close at like minus 300. Still might bet him. Colby's probably the only person to give him a hard fight, but I still think that Usman's probably going to end up stopping him. He stopped him in the first fight. He'll probably stop him again here. You know, he's got heavy, heavy hands. Colby has an absolute chin for wearing that damage all fight. And that's it, man. That's the last fight of the night. Just bang this stream out, 56 minutes. I'll catch up with the chat. Anyone has anything to input in the chat, tell me your bets. Tell me where you won. Tell me what you lost on. Tell me what you're looking at in the next card. I've taped a couple fights on the next card. Not going to give any of my bets away yet. That's only for paying members. If you want to become a paying member and earn money directly with me, it is possible to earn money long-term on combat sports betting. You can earn a side income. I do it. Many of my members do it. Go to lucrativemmabetting.com, link in my bio, all of that stuff. And yeah, you can sign up and win money. So I'll just catch up with the chat. Patty was saying Whaley was landing a lot of leg kicks and winning initial minutes on the feet prior to knockout. Market probably overreacts and Rose like, yeah, definitely. Rose will be a favorite. Yeah, the line will be probably where it should be, right? Like maybe minus 110 pick 'em or something. I wanted to bet Rose. The reason I just didn't bet Rose is because I felt like over the course of the 5 rounds, which was what a lot of people felt, right? I wasn't too contrarian here. I thought Whaley could catch up to her. And we'll never know, right? Well, we might do if they go 5 rounds in a rematch, but yeah, it's hard to see. Interesting to see where that line is. Mario saying Patty lost money. You can just his comments. Shorty Mac. Come on, Marlo, man. Why are you coming in here? Sorry, it's not Mario, it's Marlo. Why are you coming in there and just slating everyone off, bro? We need that positivity. Oh, God, look at him. Look at this fella, guys. Take a day off, mate. Get a day job. Anyway, I think that's it, you know. Oh, I think that's it. I went over the whole card, top to bottom, and yeah, man, it was a great card. It was such a good card. I can't believe some of the stuff that happens. Yeah, shout out to everybody who's watching this video. Thanks for being in here. Shout out to Marlo. He's saying it's his stick. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciate that. If you can hit the like button, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, and that's it, really. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll have multiple videos out every single week, breaking down the upcoming fights. And again, if you want to sign up and make money with me, go to my website. Link in my bio. That's it, guys. I'll be back in a couple of days with my next video. Thanks for watching.